Welcome to Piano Inspires podcast, celebrating pianists, teachers, and innovators as they share their inspiring stories about the transformative power of music.
Are you ready to take your piano journey to the next level? Introducing the pianoinspires.com subscription, your gateway to inspiration, education, and community. With a pianoinspires.com subscription, you'll gain exclusive access to hundreds of teaching videos and webinars led by today's top piano educators and performers. Whether you're a teacher, student, new professional, or lifelong learner, you'll find resources designed to inspire and guide you every step of the way. Your subscription also includes access to Piano Magazine, featuring the most current and up-to-date information for pianists and piano teachers. Each issue delivers expert insights, interviews, new music and book reviews, and more to keep you connected to the ever-evolving world of piano teaching and performance. Visit pianoinspires.com/subscribe and use coupon code podcast15 to subscribe for less than $3 per month. Thanks for listening to the Piano Inspires podcast and enjoy the episode.
Hello, everyone. My name is Heather Smith, and I am the Director of Development and Advancement at the Francis Clark Center. Today, I have the absolute honor to introduce Brian Chung. Brian Chung is a former Senior Vice President of Kawai America Corporation, where he served for over 31 years. Brian is a former chair of the Music Teachers National Association, MTNA Foundation Fund Development Committee, from 1999 to 2019, chair of the 2022 MTNA Conference Planning Committee, a 2004 MTNA Foundation Fellow, and a 2015 MTNA Endowment Fellow. Brian was the recipient of the 2010 MTNA Distinguished Service Award, the 2019 MTNA Citation for Leadership, a 2022 Composer's Grant from the MTNA Collaborative Music Commissioning Project, and the 2024 Lifetime Achievement Award from the California Association of Professional Music Teachers. After years as a professional musician and independent piano teacher, he continued his business education by completing a Master of Management degree at the Kellogg Graduate School of Management at Northwestern University. His business pursuits eventually led him to Kawai America Corporation, where he served in senior management from 1988 until his retirement in 2020. With a diverse career that includes experience as a performer, composer, arranger, teacher, author, speaker, and music industry executive, Mr. Chung is devoted to the cause of advancing music participation across America. Brian, it is an absolute honor to interview you today.
Thank you, Heather. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely.
Brian, let's begin with your formative years. Can you share how music played a role in your childhood?
Sure. My dad was tone deaf, so there wasn't a lot of music coming from that side of my family. My mom, we had this spinet piano. It was a cable spinet, which I loved for many, many years. And my mother played one song. It was Elvis Presley's "Love Me Tender." That's it. That's the only song I ever heard. But what I did hear in terms of musical that influenced me musically was musicals. I have today a love for musical theater. And I think it came from my mom, who loved to play these albums over and over. I listened ad nauseum to Oliver and Camelot and South Pacific and Hello Dolly, and I just loved it. So that influence, I guess, became pervasive in my life, because one of the moments when I feel most alive musically is when I'm watching wonderfully done musical theater. I guess the one thing I've never figured out is why my mom had that piano, because one tune, that's it. But I guess it was for me.
Yes, It was for you.
Yeah.
Brian, can you tell us a little bit about your first teachers?
Sure. I love telling this story. Can I tell it in its fullness?
Yes, please do.
When I'm speaking, I often like to relate this, because it's so much a reflection of who I am. And I've resolved that I will tell this story as many times as I can, so that every member of this profession hears it at least 3 times in their lifetime. Her name was Ruth Balmer. She was just a wonderful lady. I can remember I was 5 years old in Greenville, Michigan, in 1961. And I remember walking up the pathway of her two-story red and white duplex with my mom holding my mom's hand. And we walked to the door. And for the first time, I walk in and I see this tall woman with auburn hair, big glasses, and big veins in her hands. And I remember thinking as a kid, seeing those veins, I thought, maybe if I play the piano well enough, I might be able to have big veins like her. As I looked up at her, my image is this big smile that always made me feel welcome. Mrs. Balmer was not what you'd call a highly technical teacher. She was never really particular about scales and exercises and advanced technique. But she taught me the basics and gave me the two things which I think mattered most to me as a young pianist. Is one, a love for music. And second of all, the feeling that when I was sitting at that bench, that I was safe and affirmed. She was also really patient. I love to tell the story of when I was a fourth grader, and we were in the Sham series. I don't remember what color book I was in back then. Or it was Anyway, I had a meltdown. It was at recital. I was playing this medley of spirituals, and it got to where Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, and the walls came falling down. And I had this big glissando, right? Well, my memory fell down. What happened? And I'm a fourth grader, and I just lost it, and I buried my head in my hands. And I said, "Oh no! I knew that. I'm one of Mrs. Balmer. Her name was Ruth Balmer. I think I mentioned that." Yes. And I said, "Oh no, I can't look at Mrs. Balmer. I can't. I know I'm one of her best students, and I just messed up." And all of a sudden, I said, I look back in the room, and there's Mrs. Balmer with a big smile and a reassuring word, and my life was good again. She just had that presence that was soothing to me. She wasn't perfect. She had a thing about fingerprints on her piano. Okay. And when you're 5 years old and you're a boy, you think of fingerprints on a piano as kind of an art form, right? And she had this thing about a guy named Jim. He was a former student, and he had been there years before me, and she always had his clippings. I know it was meant to inspire us other, subsequent students, but it was Jim did this, Jim did that. Look what Jim did. And frankly, I got really sick and tired of hearing about Jim.
Didn't want to hear about Jim.
I didn't want to hear about Jim. But so ironically, many years later, I'm in the piano business at that time, and I was at a trade show and I met a colleague. And as we talked, I realized, he's from Greenville, Michigan. He's from my hometown, and he was a piano player. He was a pianist, and I remember as we talked, I found out that he studied with Mrs. Balmer about 11 years after me, and suddenly a light bulb seemed to go off in his head because he said, "So you're that Brian that I got so sick of hearing about year after year after year."
Oh, that's great.
It's a kind of crazy story. Anyway, I studied with Mrs. Balmer for 5 years only, kindergarten to fourth grade. But we kept in touch. We were like pen pals. And so wherever I'd go, and we moved to the big city, which was Detroit, and she kept writing to me, and we'd write back and forth. I always remember her having beautiful penmanship, and she wrote in green pen, which was just really unusual. And anyway, kind of pulling this all together, she kept in touch with me throughout the time when I played the piano I went to London, and I went when I played piano in theme parks. She was so proud of me. When I graduated from high school, she sent me a gift, and it was a metronome, which means I wasn't perfect either, I guess. But it was one of those Seth Thomas ones that still sits on my piano to this day, and I could tell in her letters that she was so proud of me. And in 1981, 20 years after my first lesson, when I heard that she was near death, I got in the car and drove with my brand new wife to be there the day before she died. And I love to tell this story because she was not a star. She was not someone who had great notoriety
Yes.
anywhere outside Greenville, or maybe not even in Greenville.
Yes.
She never coached a competition winner. She never wrote a book, any of those kind of things. But here I am, 60-something years old, and I still talk about her. I still remember that her passion for music. I still am grateful that she nurtured me to love making music. She had such a tremendous impact on my life in shaping who I am today. So I love to talk about that, because you think there are some teachers who come to the conferences and get a little overwhelmed by seeing people talking at such a very high level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're the luminaries and the stars. And I had a woman come over to talk to me at one time, saying, after hearing my Mrs. Baumer's story, that she says, I really don't feel like I'm very much. I can't be a star like that. And but I guess if someone's listening today, and I would say one thing, I said, if you're out there every day, faithfully nurturing people of all ages, but especially at the early stages, to love making music, then you are a star in my book, and you will always be so. And I would look that person in the eye, and I would say, thank you for your investment in this profession, and for the way that you are affecting the future of what we can become.
That's beautiful, Brian. Thank you for sharing that. What an inspiration Ruth was on your life. And
yes, she's wonderful.
It's incredible what influence piano teachers can have on society, for sure.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. It's lasting. It's not something that happens just in the moment. You can see in my life,
yes,
her imprint is on everything that I do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. As I was listening to you, thinking about who has inspired me in my own life, you are at the top of that list. You have had such a formative career that has been so inspiring to me, and you're so giving to everybody that you come in contact with. I would love to know.
Thank you, Heather.
If you could just share a little bit about the path that you traveled, because it's a very fascinating career.
Thank you. Yeah, it is. It is an interesting thing. I look back. So I look back at what life was like at home for me. I told you that I didn't have a strong musical background, because when you're an Asian American young person, at least when I was growing up,
yes,
there's this sense that music was not necessarily appreciated for its intrinsic beauty, or what it brought aesthetically to one's life, but it was important because of what it could produce in me. That's
sure.
maybe kind of an Asian American. Maybe it's true across the board, but I know especially in Asian American families at the time that I was growing up. And so it was to produce determination and focus and perseverance, all those things. And that's why my parents said, pursue it and enjoy it and excel in it, but only to a point.
Oh,
because
okay.
It says, don't do it for a career. In fact, my father told me straight out. He says, I'm here to help you with school, but if you decide to go into music, maybe not so much. I mean, he told me straight out. And so I kind of realized that there were limitations on that direction if I wanted to pursue it.
Right.
And also, I lived in a community that was that appreciated music, but the big thing in my community was sports. I mean, that was the thing,
Okay.
And so this kind of set up this duality for me, is that between kind of an internal rivalry between the thing that I love to do, that I was seeing that early on I loved to do,
Right.
and the things that I felt obligated to do.
Yes.
Right. You see, I think maybe a lot of people struggle with those two things, the thing you love and the thing you just are supposed to do. So I remember I took piano lessons from early ages, all through elementary school,
Okay.
and got to junior high and quit.
Did you?
Yes, my father took me to the University of Michigan for an audition with a teacher, and the teacher told me, yes, I'll accept you, but you must commit to 45 minutes of practice a day. Now, I look back at that today and say, oh, that's nothing, 45 minutes. But when you want to play sports and you want to do all, and I'm told I need to excel in classroom work, et cetera, and
Yes.
I wanted to be in student leadership and all those things, I said, I'm sorry, I can't commit to 45 minutes a day. And so I quit. I never took another piano lesson until college.
Really?
Yeah, almost 7 years of formative years that I just missed out on. But but in the junior high school, I kept very active in music as a accompanist for the choir. I played French horn in the band, those things. But then you get to college, and all of a sudden, I realized that I missed the piano. I was playing in the Michigan marching band where I met my wife, and but there came a time where I said, I need to get back to this. I remembered how much I had loved the piano. So I washed dishes in the dorm to earn a little extra spending money so I could have lessons with a private teacher in the area. And that meant the world to me, because all of a sudden I could re-immerse myself in this world that I had loved.
Yes.
And I said, well, maybe in the summers I can do something with the piano. So I started to apply or audition for theme parks. So I got to play 407 shows of It's Broadway Again, 1975, at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. And it was like a Six Flags kind of place. And then the next year in the summer, I went to Disney World, played 207 shows in Tomorrowland and with the All-American College Singers and Show Band. And so those are wonderful summers and got me, playing. So I all kind of through my career, or at least through my college career, this movement back and forth. I needed to excel in school, pre-med, pre-law, pre-business, whatever it was. But at the same time, I wanted to be involved in music. Junior year came and I got accepted to a very rigorous program at Michigan, the business schools for the highly regarded. And so I had to dig in, but I still played in the jazz band. And so something was wonderful that happened. Is I was, that year, junior year of college, University of Michigan decided that the music school said, we want the doctoral pianists to get some teaching experience by teaching non-music majors. And I had a lot of friends in the music school, and so I saw a flyer saying, non-music majors, if you'd like lessons from a doctoral student, let us know. And so, boy, I was there. I was on it right away. And I got accepted. And so I got to study with some wonderful people while I was this business major. And it kind of prepped the way for what I was about to do after college. So I know I'm telling you way too much. This is TMI, right, to the max.
This is so great.
But so college ends, and I have this BBA, a Bachelor's of Business Administration. And you'd think, okay, I need to go and get a job in business. But I had this Rotary Foundation grant, which kind of let me go anywhere I wanted to go in the world. And what do? You'd think that I want to go to study at the London School of Economics or something like that, right? No, I went to the Guildhall School of Music and Drama because I wanted to go to a conservatory. Those doctoral pianists have helped to prepare me for that. So Rotary, and I'm so grateful for that, these many years later, let me go to conservatory. I studied piano and conducting there. And then you'd think, well, I come back from a year there and I should go into a business job, right? Well, I got this National Endowment grant to study jazz in California. So I come back and spend another year. And then you think, well, okay, I should get a business job. But no, I didn't. I hung around in California, and I got to, MIDI was coming into place, and I was learning how to use MIDI. And I had a little nice setup, and I was scoring for small films, and I was doing a lot of music. But typical of me, and this duality back and forth is I figured, okay, there's a part of my brain that is atrophied. Even though I'm doing all these things, there's a strategic part of my brain that's not being utilized. And I felt my parents saying, Brian, what are you doing? Because I was getting more and more immersed in music.
Yes.
And so I went to the Kellogg School of Management and at Northwestern, got an MBA. All right. So here, bouncing back and forth again, then did some jobs then I did actually do some business jobs and found them to be very unsatisfactory because the music meant nothing. In the business context, the fact that I was musical, it was kind of like, oh, that's nice. He can play for one of those little soirees that we do, corporate ones. And I thought, well, a part of me is missing. Went through a couple of jobs. And finally, I land at a place called Kauai America, which was a beautiful thing. The story behind that, I wish I had time to talk about because it's almost supernatural how I just, boom, was there at a time when they just needed somebody like me. It was an amazing thing. And Kauai was the perfect place for me to spend 31 years because both my business mind and my musical heart mattered. And for me, it was convergence. And so I spent a lot of my life there. And I'm really very thankful for the opportunity to let both of my sides come together.
Oh, yeah. That was beautiful, Brian. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
I can see how Kauai was the right place for you because you were able to bring both of your worlds into one.
Absolutely. Yes. And I loved it. I loved it. The interesting thing is, you think about that whole story. It doesn't answer the question, though, why I'm sitting across from you in conversation.
Yes.
Because I think if I can cross into what happened in the Kauai years.
Yes, please.
And why am I here? I always often ask myself that question, what happened which suddenly said, well, why is my life noteworthy at all in a musical context?
Yes.
It's because of the word invitation. I figured this out, is that people who invited me in as this kind of outsider, and I'm the business guy, right? And what brought me in? It was invitation. And if I can just dwell on this a little bit, it's an interesting story. So here I am at a trade show, a business trade show. And Terry Lewis, who was senior vice president at Yamaha at the time, this is back in 95 or so, he walks up to me and says, "Hey, Brian, how would you like to join the MTNA Foundation board?" And I said, "Oh, okay. What's that?" and he said, "Well, MTNA is a Music Teachers Association." And I said, "Well, what do the letters stand for?" And he told me, Music Teachers National Association. And I said, "Well, why me?"
Yes.
And he says, "Because it's your turn." And so what do I do with that? I said, well, I suppose I was newly appointed as the senior vice president. I said, well, okay. So here I'm at my first meeting, and there's Dennis Houlihan, who's president of Roland, and Terry from Yamaha, and me, the Kauai guy,
Right.
And I remember always speaking as third person, kind of outsider. We'd be discussing the business of the foundation.
Right.
And I would say, well, I think you should do that, or I think I suggest that you go in this direction. And over time, I just got to know the people and the mission of the organization, and the words changed from "I think you should do that" to "I think we should do that," and I just felt included in something that was dear to my heart. So I guess kind of that was the beginning. Then Gary Engel came into the CEO role, and he asked me, said, "Brian, would you be interested in chairing the foundation board?" So I said, "Well, sure." And then later he said, "Well, would you be interested in saying a few words at the gala about the foundation?" This is how it all began.
Yes.
And so I did. And I guess I must have said something interesting, because he came over later and said, "Would you be interested in speaking at every gala?" Which I was so honored to do for about 20 years.
Yes.
And then a couple of years later, Sam Holland, my great friend, invited me to speak at the National Conference on Keyboard Pedagogy. He said, "I'd like you to be the opening keynote." It was the one right after Richard Chronister had passed in the early 2000s. And I said, "Really? You'd like me to be the opening keynote?" And always the question is, why me? And he said, "Well, I think you might have something interesting to say." And again, I'm thinking I'm this outsider, I'm this business guy. And so I'll always remember, I felt this sense of being a fish out of water right up till the day of that speech.
Yes.
I'm sitting in the green room in the back, getting ready to go on, and I'm all alone with I'm together with Louise Goss in the green room, and such a sweet lady. We were talking, and I'm sharing with her my sense of just being an outsider. And suddenly she stops, and she had this wonderful smile, and she comes up to me, she grabs both of my hands, and she looks at me with these smiling eyes and says, "Brian, you're one of us."
Oh.
And it was a beautiful moment, and I felt like I'd received another invitation from one of the matriarchs of the profession, and inviting me to be part of this family. It was a beautiful thing, and these are the kinds of invitations that have been so critical to me feeling like part of the family. Just a couple more. I'm at a conference, and my friend Dennis Thurmond from USC, we're talking. We're at this session about improvisation, and we stay after, and we're kind of talking back and forth because we're both improvisers. And he says, we should write a book.
Okay.
And that's what I said. Oh, okay. What do you mean? Because I'd never written a book. And so 2 years later, we have this book, Improvisation at the Piano. And it's being presented. E.L. Lancaster from Alfred helped work together with us on that. And we presented it at the Toronto Collaborative Conference. And so here I am, after that's being presented, on the same plane back home with E.L. Lancaster. We happen to be headed back to LA after the conference, and we're in the same row on the plane, and we start talking. And so in the middle of that, he says, well, Brian, what else do you do now that we've completed this project? I said, well, I've been playing hymns and arrangements at church for years. He says, why don't you come to the office, play a few of those for me, and maybe we'll publish them. Oh. And so with 2 volumes that are available for several years now, I got another invitation, and I think that the best thing I could ever have done was to make the decision to step into these things despite my fears, because you always think, well, am I qualified? Can I do that? And just a couple of years ago, Ann Witherspoon, who has beautifully headed the MTNA collaborative music commissioning project for years, invited me to compose a work, a piano trio for that. And so I felt so honored to receive another invitation. So here's this guy with this duality, right? Yes. The business side and the music side all coming together, and then a series of invitations from people who want to say, no, you're one of us.
Yes.
Please come in. And so if I've made any contribution to the profession over the years, I owe it to people across the profession who have been so kind, so inviting to let me be part of where we're going and who we are.
Yeah, you say that about invitation, and I think about your own life, how you accepted the invitation from others. You, in turn, have been now giving the invitation and extending the invitation to others. That's how we got involved, because of your invitation to me. But I love how you have also extended this to everybody outside with the recreational music making and just giving everybody a seat at the table.
Yes, thanks. I that's one of, I guess, if I had a soapbox,
yes,
I would stand on that. I think I would like our profession to be all that it's always wanted to be. Yes. I think sometimes we don't get the respect that we deserve, in society. You think the things that get all the attention are all the entertainment kind of things and the sports and all those. And I think that we could have everything that we want. I think we could have everybody with 2-year waiting lists. I believe we could have full concerts that always are full, recitals that are always full, yes, that our streams could be watched continually, and our recordings could be sold out. We could get the respect that we deserve and more, yes, if our focus would be, and this may strike some people wrongly, I guess, but if our focus would be this, to create or to cultivate millions and millions of people who love making music.
Yes.
I'll just say it again, to cultivate millions and millions of people who love making music. And that's not just certain kinds of people, that's everybody.
Yes.
To frustrated businessmen, to people young and old, people who can't play a note, people who can only play by ear and can't read a note. Yes. It's everybody. We need to invite everybody in. And I guess the idea is, if we had millions doing what we do, we would get everything that we've always wanted. Yes. And millions are key to it. And for some people who think, well, that's going to lead to a world full of just mediocre musicians, I would argue this. I would come back. I would say that if we could nurture and had enough people to nurture millions into what we do, we would have more excellence than we would ever imagine. Now, someone would say, well, what do you mean? How would would having millions of players, just having millions of players, lead us to more excellence than we ever imagined? And I love to tell this kind of story that you wouldn't necessarily remember soccer in the 1970s. You're a lot younger than I am. But I remember it vividly as something that I didn't care about.
Yes.
I mean, nobody. When I was in high school, okay, we're all playing football and we're playing, basketball and everything.
Sure.
But soccer, no. Nobody at that time that I knew had any real respect for soccer. I mean, we didn't know the rules. We thought it was pretty silly because you couldn't use your hands.
Right.
So here's soccer with really no presence. There was no women's team, national women's team in soccer. There was no. The men were an embarrassment. They couldn't compete on the world stage. I mean, that's just the way soccer was. So. Fast forward 15 years, not necessarily a full generation. Just fast forward 15 years. I'm a father. I have 2 children at that time.
Okay.
And what did I do? I put my kids in soccer.
Okay.
Like immediately. It wasn't even. I didn't have to think about it at all.
Yes.
The reason being is everybody's kid was doing it.
Right.
Everybody was there, and so it was kind of a thing you did. Now, how did it go from basically being unknown when I was in high school to most people to being the thing you did with your children in 15 years?
Right.
It happened because the people behind American Youth Soccer and all the people who were trying to build the soccer platform said, we don't have any stars. We don't have any, role models out there that we can point to. We didn't have a lot of star coaches or anything like that. We just want to invite everybody in, and we wanted to play at any level. And, their slogan was not "everybody plays well" or "everybody's excellent" or anything like that. Their slogan was "everybody plays, no matter who you are. Come in and learn to love playing soccer." And so they did. And over that 15 years, it grew to hundreds of thousands of little boys and girls out there playing and learning to love the game.
Yes.
And so what do you get when that happens? Over the last several years, if you've kind of been attuned to anything in soccer, the men's world team, the men's national team made the World Cup quarterfinals 5 times, which is like unheard of because they were an embarrassment. And then you look at the women. The women's team did not exist in the 1970s. Women's team went on to win 4 World Cup championships and 5 team gold medals at the Olympics, coming from nothing, right? Over the last 3 decades.
Right.
So you think about that. How do you go from nothing to being leaders in the world stage, having more excellence than we could ever dream about having? It's because it started with the nurturers. People in the local communities saying, y'all come.
Yes.
Come on out. Play with each other. Learn together how to love this game. And they got not only millions of people in soccer, which has a wonderful presence in this country now, but they got more excellence than they ever realized, right? And we can, in soccer, they got more excellence than they could ever dream of having. And, if they can have that,
yes,
why can't we have that? So I guess, if you could say, well, that's not really for me. I'm in the profession a long time, and I really don't want to teach, that level at this time. It's not really me. But I think if I could ask one thing of everybody who's listening to this podcast, it's there's a growing cohort of people who want to grow that part of their studio. It doesn't have to be everything they do, but a part of the studio devoted to the nurture of having people of all ages and all stages love making music. I would, if you're not that person, when you see somebody who is doing that, and we call it recreational music making today or any form of that,
yes,
go up to them and thank them. Just say thank you for what you're doing to help nurture the future of this profession. There are a lot of people, again, who feel like, well, that's not the ultimate in our profession, but it has a tremendous impact on the possibilities, what we as a profession can become.
Yes, I love how you correlated sports,
Mhm.
soccer, and music, and how that can bring out the excellence in communities in the world, really.
Yes, yes.
Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Brian, I have a question for you. You've
Mm,
talked about how music has made an impact in yourself,
mhm,
how music has made an impact in the world.
mm.
I would love to know, how has piano inspired you?
Yeah, I I thought deeply about that question because it was posed to me, and well, I wrote down a few. I started to jot down what the
Please.
piano really is to me. Many people think of the piano as a friend, and I'm one
Mm.
of those people. I think uh, I love the piano because it's always there, right? It's always there. It's always there to welcome me,
Yes.
uh, despite how long I've been away, and I've been away a long time in places of my life. Uh, and the piano is always a blank slate. It's not has no expectations from me. It's non-judgmental. It allows me to express what I feel at the time, or what I'd rather be feeling. I can play familiar tunes, some things that soothe my soul, or I can expand on the familiar. I can create something entirely new if I want to.
Mhm.
It allows me to express anything that my heart and mind can imagine. And I guess that if I really, really kind of look right down into it, I would say the piano helps me to explore the depths of my own potential and allows me to be fully me.
That's beautiful. Brian, it has been such a pleasure to get to interview you today. Thank you for taking your time and for being such an inspiration for me and for so many in this community.
Thank you, Heather. It's really been an honor to be here with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
The Francis Clark Center is a not-for-profit educational organization that serves the advancement of piano teaching, learning, and performing. Divisions include Piano Magazine, Piano Inspires Kids, Journal for Piano Research, National Conference on Keyboard Pedagogy, the New School for Music Study, Piano Education Press, International Online Teacher Education, and Piano Inspires Online Community Hub. Please visit us at pianoinspires.com to learn more about our impactful work and inspiring community.